Okay, Emmy nominee, a voice actor in 22 Pixar movies, a storied act. Please don't interrupt. This is you.
I just realized that. I thought we were talking about Woody.
No. A storied acting career in TV and film spanning nearly 5 decades. Perhaps his most famous role was on Cheers as the garrulous, you can quarrel with the word garrulous, mail carrier, Cliff Clavin. Please welcome to the show our longtime friend, John Ratzenberger.
Gentlemen, so good to see you again, once again.
Great to see you, dude.
I want to come back here every day now. I get such a fuzzy feeling, warm and fuzzy seeing you.
Wait till we get going.
Okay. I haven't seen it. Like, I literally, you're the only person from Cheers I haven't seen since the day we wrapped.
I've been trying to avoid you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Ducking around corners. There he is. So no, I've been out and about. I just finished a 4,000-mile driving trip. I just took this spur of the moment. So I don't spend a lot of time here.
Where'd you go? From where to where?
Oh, from Rancho Mirage on the desert to Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Montana, Idaho, Washington State, Oregon, and then back down here.
Oh, my God.
What
a car.
Was your vehicle?
I didn't wank.
Yeah, no, but he wondered if you were taking a motorcycle.
This is a valid question.
Huh?
He wondered if you were taking a motorcycle, right?
Yes,
no, my daughter won't me on motorcycles anymore.
I want motorcycles.
Yeah, no.
But what kind of vehicle
I got a pickup truck.
Nice.
It's red.
By yourself? Was it just you?
Yeah.
Wow. What do you do when you pull into a town?
Well, I bring one of my friends that I stopped to see. He is a ex-Vinter winery guy who just sold his winery, but he's got a big property up in Montana, and his thing is trap and skeet. So I brought a couple of shotguns with me, and so we, did some trap and skeet shooting, and then I got friends in Oregon. We went down the Rogue River, one of those boats, the rapids and all that stuff, and I never have an agenda.
Yeah.
This one I did. The first stop was in Pueblo, Colorado. I gave a talk there, and I've been doing quite a bit of that speechifying.
And what are you speechifying about?
Well, what I bent your ear about all those years ago, to get kids shop classes. To get shop classes reinstated because we're literally running out of people that know how to use tools. Literally, the airlines, we're running out of pilots of all things. Railroads, the railroads falling off of the tracks. That's because they don't have enough people to fix what's going wrong.
And are you raising the alarm, or are you?
I've been trying for 30. I've spoken in front of Congress twice already, and brought in witnesses from construction firms who said they have to close down because they can't find simple carpenters and bricklayers. And I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you're talking about. I was a carpenter before I got into this acting game.
Yeah, no, because they give you, even though we hung out 1,000 hours, well, more. You look at, there's a thing in here that you were at Woodstock as one of the crew.
Yeah,
you must have told me that, but I forgot about this.
I'd never heard that either.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I don't know.
What were you? So what were you doing?
I was a carpenter. I was living up in the area up in Bearsville. I was building a studio for a mime, giving mime lessons. So I traded my carpentry skills for mime lessons and breakfast and a bed. The great businessman. And then the word went out in town that there's some kind of festival going on and they're looking for people. So I trundled on down there and stood in line, and the guy says, "Can you drive a tractor?" I said, "Yeah." I never in my life. So here are the keys. So I went over, started up, and they went, I almost flipped it. But then, so I was doing heavy equipment operation and pounding nails at the stage. Yeah.
And did you have to leave after you built it before the festival?
No, I was there right through the festival.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So I was there like a week and a half before the festival, during the festival, and about a week after the festival.
Did you have any idea that, this is huge, this is big, or no?
My first thought was, we're in big trouble when these idiots take over the country.
Johnny.
I mean, it's like, wow, these people are idiots. They're college educated, but they're idiots.
The crowd.
The crowd.
Oh, the crowd. Yeah, all right.
Well, who would you think I was talking about?
The musicians.
All right.
Okay. Them too.
No, I didn't get to hear a lot of music.
Yeah.
No, so, yeah, but I was wandering, just on the road kind of thing.
Hey, can we back up a second? We've been talking about, because we've all known each other, but we knew each other while we were rehearsing and laughing and giggling. So I had no idea what Woody was like when he was the 7, 8, 9, 12, whatever year old. What was that age? What were you doing at that age? What was your life like? Were you running out the door and coming back? And, that was a nice sound. Nice sound.
That was me running out the door.
Johnny, come back. Yeah. What was that like?
Well,
you grew up in Bridgeport.
Which is a factory town. But we grew up right on the water. But, there was nothing sumptuous about it. It was saying we grew up on the water, yeah. But there was a shipyard right across the street, and one down the end of the street, one down the end of this street. So it was mostly utilitarian water things.
Right.
So I was around people, building boats, repairing boats, buying boats, selling boats.
At what age?
0 right on.
Wow.
So that's where you learned the carpentry skills, working on boats?
Yeah, well, that's where I was, I guess in thinking about it, that's probably where my interest started. But then when I got to middle school, we actually had shop classes. And Mr. Banny said, oh, no, here, use a crosscut saw for that, or a rip saw. And you started learning about tools.
Right.
And you tried to do it right, too, because he had really bad breath. So when he was leaning over your shoulder, your eyes would water. And so he wanted to do it right. But I always enjoyed it. When I went to England, I don't know how old I was, 20. But that's how I made a living over there. I was a carpenter. I go to different building sites.
Was that before you got bitten by the acting bug or the comedy or the whatever? How did that fit in? Because I know you traveled around.
The acting bug, I had done some in college, but I never thought you could make a living at this stuff. And in England, a buddy of mine from college, Ray Hassett, who went on later years to become a very highly decorated sheriff, policeman in New Haven, Connecticut. But he and I toured Europe.
Oh, this is the Sal's Meat Market.
Sal's Meat Market.
Yeah.
And so we got a pretty good reputation. The Monty Python guys would come to our shows, and remember Bob Hoskins, he'd always be in our audience, guys like that. And but then I came over here, and Ray went another direction. But I mean, he's a movie, that guy, undercover stuff, and yeah. But then Cheers.
But before that, you also did you played every American soldier in every war movie known to man.
Well, because the dollar was very strong against the pound when I was over there, so they were making a lot of American movies. So I was the right height, weight, size, look to fit into a uniform. So every movie, I did the 30-something movies over there, and every one was a uniform. Like Ragtime, I was a fireman. Bridge Too Far, Gandhi, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
It was always a uniform of some kind, yeah.
But then the ultimate uniform, the mailman,
The garrulous mailman.
The garrulous.
That's not fair. He was way more than garrulous.
Yeah, garrulous is interesting.
Yeah.
But I love the way your audition went. Because then you come in and audition for the George part, for Norm part.
I don't know.
Or different.
I guess, yeah. I just, because I never auditioned. I'd been working 10 years straight in Europe, nonstop. Not once did I ever audition. And I didn't go to acting school. So I didn't know what taught me what I was supposed to do. So I walked into the office, and there was Jimmy, Les and Glenn, a couple other people. But, they're sitting there like that, like, show me your stuff. And I remember thinking, oh, that's probably why they gave me this script. So I did a horrible job. Yeah. So I was walking out the door, literally walking out the door. And I don't know whether this is my fantasy or it happened in reality, but I could have sworn that my 8x10 was going like this into the wastebasket. When I stopped, I said, do you have a bar know-it-all? But that was the writer part of me asking. And it was Glenn who said, what are you talking about? I said, every bar that I've ever been in New England anyway, has some horse's ass who pretends to know everything, but everybody defers to that person anyway. And because, when I'd go find my dad, tell him the dinner was ready, there's always one guy in the bar. And my father's was this guy named Sarge. Hey, Sarge, what's the length of a whale's intestine? Baleen or blue? And even as a kid, I thought that was hysterical. So so I just picked up on that kind of character, and I think I used a ballpoint pen from the desk in there and explained why the big pen was originally called a bitch pen, and why they had to take the H off, and which is a true story, by the way.
No,
really?
Two brothers, French brothers, the bitch brothers, BICH. And somebody said, so they started a pen company, and somebody goes, you might want to take the H off of that.
Okay, now you have to raise your hand. Is this a true story? All right. All right. Wow. I remember. That's a great story.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a collector of arcane thoughts and facts. So I get a kick out of it.
When you did the audition, you're leaving, and then you say the thing about the bar know-it-all. So what was their response?
Oh, well,
they were laughing.
That was the only reason I did that, because, again, I had a great career going in Europe, and big audiences, and I was the toast of the town out back there. But I didn't want to leave that office, have them think I was some kind of Momo, just some guy, some actor, because I knew what I was doing, but I needed to make them laugh before I left to regain my dignity, because it was just in shatters all over the carpet from my audition. So that's the only reason I did it. 2 days later, I get a call.
But did you get laugh? Did they laugh?
Oh, yeah.
So you knew
I went into
you
a whole
left on
character.
Yeah.
Because it's those characters always, the eyebrows go, you got the, there's all kinds of convoluted motion that goes with it. And there's a cop who's a father of a buddy of mine growing up, and he was like that too. And I always used to make fun of him. And so I, mixed them all up. And boom, bada, boom.
Johnny, it was a brilliant character. It truly was. You made me laugh so hard. I can go back and reruns, and you make me laugh.
I love those types of that. It's sort of the pompous individual. Everybody knows he's full of it, but yet okay, let's listen to him and pretend that he's right.
Now, another influence, because you told me this, and you actually got me to start watching his movies, Jacques Tati.
Oh, Jacques Tati, yeah.
Tell me first a little bit about him.
Well, it's just after Second World War. He started making movies, but he's the reason that I had the wardrobe guy at Cheers lift up my pant, like the cuffs. You can see the white socks. It's because of Jacques Tati. Because Jacques Tati, and a lot of us, he didn't hardly talked, but he just walked across the room, and just his body language and the way he looked, other people would stare, and the chain reaction would start like a knock, drink down on the dog, and the dog would, and just it'd be chaos.
Yeah.
And all he had to do was walk through a room. I just thought how brilliant that is.
Yeah.
But as a matter of fact, I was thinking about him last night. I've been to this hotel up here in Hollywood, and they got all these knobs and buttons, and I couldn't turn off the light. I was like, what the hell? But Jacques Tati did a movie called Mon Oncle. It's all that. Just all these modern doodads and squiggles and spigots. And but it's funny you mentioned that. I was just thinking about that last night.
We haven't talked a lot about, we have talked a lot about Cheers, but these are some silly questions. Like, do you have favorite moments? Do you have favorite episodes? Do you have anything?
Oh, but Cheers?
Yeah.
I can't think of a time that a day that wasn't favorite. It just seemed like it just got better and better. I really enjoyed the read through of the scripts. Like they would send us the script, on Friday or the weekend, so that we would have it in front of us Monday. I never opened it. I would go in to work with you guys not having read the script. And so I could so every time you turned the page, it was like a little Christmas present.
Yeah.
Because I loved the way the writing, you never saw it coming.
Yeah.
Whereas most sitcoms, you can see it a mile away. You know what's going to happen. But with Cheers, you didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And so I just thought I got a kick out of that. But that was one of my favorite moments every week was
I'm going to tell you some of my favorite moments. Squeaky shoes.
I was thinking about that too. Yeah.
That was one. Yeah.
You directed that.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was one of my favorites too. Yeah.
An entire bar walking around looking at their feet with little handheld squeakers to make the shoe look.
Yeah, I had the prop guy cut the squeakers out of toys, so each actor had his own octave. Because I knew if they did it in post-production, it'd be the same octave, the same sound. Not funny, but when the actors were in charge, if you look at the right hands of all you guys, you'll see some people squeezing it.
What else did you direct?
Oh,
a lot of half hour?
Yeah, a lot of half hour. And then I made the great career move of moving my family up to an island in Washington State.
Yeah.
The agents didn't like that because I was getting a lot of offers to direct. I made a lot. And so I was with William Morris at the time. And I said, well, I'm going to moving my family up to start a little farm up in Washington on an island. He said, what? Well, yeah, just call me. I'll come down. And, I thought it was easy. Just call me. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll be there. No. But it doesn't work like that. You actually have to talk to people. But so that's kind of when...
What did you do, though, up there? Were you farming? Were you...
Well, that's like I said, I grew up in and around boats, so we always had boats. And my son and I remember the first fish he caught. We were in this a boat, or the Cape Cod cat boat I had built. Anyway, he's reeling it in. He looks over, and it's a shark, but it's like a sand shark, not a big deal. And he was like 5, 6. He was dead. It's a shark. And I remember that scene from Bambi where Bambi's father's, get up, Bambi. When the fire's coming,
right.
You can do it, son. You can. That's what I did with my son. I said, reel it in, Jim. You can do it. He wanted me to reel it in for him. But I remember the look of pride on his face when he reeled it in himself and held it up like that. So that's the reason I went, because you can't do that here.
Yeah.
And I got this set of skills that I don't translate to raising children here. So I had to bring them to a place that I knew, like crabbing and
cool.
sailing and, Oh, I remember going to pick up my kids at school, and Jim jumps in the car and says, "Where's Nina?" I said, "I don't know." So I look, and about 20 yards away, there's a huge pine tree with a lot of kids under the pine tree looking up. And I said, "I think I know where she is." She was it was like 80 feet in the air.
Wow.
Nina, just 4 or 5 years old. Just decided to climb the pine tree. But that's the reason.
Yeah.
I thought that's
to expose them to that.
Just, there it is. Go
Yeah.
do it.
Hey, now that we're talking boats a little bit, and we have the major culprit sitting next to me,
Gee.
Woody Harrelson. Come on,
Lord.
let's revisit the story just one more time.
I don't know from Johnny's perspective, but it was
No,
bleak
he
from
was
our
irritated.
perspective.
We were dying, and you were irritated.
So
No, I set it up.
I was a little afraid.
Well, let us back up just for a second. We decided, all the boys at Cheers decided to play hooky. First bad thing we'd ever done,
Yeah.
And it was like I think our 5th year or something like that. And we weren't heavy in the script. It was Shelley and Rhea, and we called Rhea that night and said, "Heads up, we're going to play hooky," and we all decided to meet down.
This is Long Beach where the
Long
boat was.
Beach, yeah. And it was a Boston whaler that you had or something.
No, Boston Whale is a little boat. This is a Grand Banks.
Wow.
It's a 42-foot trawler.
Yeah. It was very impressive. So we go there. I think Woody and I are stoned already on marijuana. And we stopped by to pick up Kelsey, who had been up all night. And then we all piled, to the dock. We got to a telephone booth and we called Jimmy Burrows, the director, and said, "Jimmy, I'm not feeling good. I'm not coming in. Hold on one second." Then you pass it to the next guy in line. He was not amused. And then we got on the boat. By now, having no breakfast, I'm hungry. And Woody says, "Have you ever had mushrooms? Would you like some mushrooms?" And I thought, yeah. I mean, we're going to be on a boat. We're not answerable to anybody. Yes. And in my kind of hunger, I remember it was 2 or 3 handfuls that tasted pretty good. Hard cut to, I don't know, half hour later. And we were at the tail end of weather that had come up from Mexico, right?
I was on the way back.
Oh, but it was, well,
Oh,
it wasn't
that was
bumpy.
on the way
I thought it was
back.
bumpy. Not bumpy.
No, the way
seemed
over there
like it
was just...
Okay, my
Pretty-
mushrooms were bumpy. Let me put it that way.
Something was bumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're called waves. The ocean has them a lot.
Yeah. So you should have told me that before I got on. Anyway, I look at Woody, and Woody stretches out, and I think, oh my God, he's so used to this. He stretches out in a bunk, and I am dying. I have trouble breathing, and I am just dying. So I go up to where you and George were sitting, you were piloting, and you both looked at me and went, "Oh, fuck. What did you do?" I had some mushrooms. And I sat next to George, and every 30 seconds he would go, tap me, go, "Breathe." And I go, because I would forget.
You'd just be holding your
breathe.
breath. I remember that.
Yeah.
You were like holding your breath
I-
for
I didn't-
long periods.
And I thought you were fine, but you finally came up because you were afraid you were contemplating jumping off the back of the boat. Anyway, woof, never had a mushroom again.
Yeah, good.
Worst experience.
And Kelsey was down below. He was racked.
He was sound
He
asleep.
was sound asleep.
Catching some Z's.
So you two, George, Kelsey, and me.
Yeah.
Going to Catalina.
Yeah. I enjoyed the ride back. The ride back was fun. Not for you, because you were fighting some weather, but
coming back, I remember we were on Catalina, and I had my radio, carried my radio. So I knew there was weather coming. I just wanted to keep an eye on it. And when they said, yeah, it's turning and it's going to be coming right down the channel, I said to you guys, I remember we were at a Mexican restaurant. I don't know if you're
yeah.
I said, look, we got to stay the night just to be safe.
Now you're going to make this next part up, I can tell. But go on. You
Oh.
laying this on me?
No, I wasn't going to do that.
Oh, thank you.
And one of the members said, "Oh no, I got to get back because I got to go to a wedding, and my wife's going to get back." And then it was a whole litany of. I said, "All right, we got to leave right this second." So we scurried down to the tender that took us out to the boat, started the engines, and got underway. And it was horrible because the weather was coming broadside to the boat. And as a captain, what you do is you go this way, the way the waves are going. So I said, well, we can put into, go up to Ventura or Oxnard, or just because that's where the wind's blowing us, and that's safer. Because then you're just going like that, and that's fine. Because that boat would take it. It's built for heavy weather. And no, couldn't, because the cars were there in Long Beach. But so the boats, I remember the props cavitating. It was, because there's two engines, two props, and the boats, and you can hear the props spinning out of the water. And I remember thinking, tomorrow's papers are going to say Cliff kills cast of Cheers. Right. We're going under. And obviously we made it back, but that was
some
something.
Good navigating.
Well, it was really you asked me to sit up in the prow.
Well, towards the end there, when we were coming in just to keep an eye out for buoys and things for to make sure we were in the right spot. And that was. Oh, and one of the members of the crew had opened the refrigerator, but forgot to latch it.
Woody, was that you?
Was it Woody? I forget who it was. But when the boat pitched, everything went in. All the bottles broke, beer bottles. So there's now got glass and broken glass and beer like this. And so I'm stuck at the wheel. And so if anything happens, I can't even walk. It's all broken glass slushing behind me.
We're a mess.
It was something. It was different.
I think it was the last time you invited us on any of your boats.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Have you ever been scared for your life on a boat?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me.
Well, there's once the one that comes to mind when I was a deckhand on an oyster boat. And went out. It's like farming oysters. You got the small oysters, and you dredge them up and you put them somewhere else. But it was in the winter and there was a storm, and I had to go out on the outside of the boat to open up what's called the scuppers. And you rinse the oysters out. Anyway, my hand missed the thing, and I was going. I had my full oilers on, the raincoat, the rain gear and boots. Right. So I was like this, and my entire life flashed in front of me. I had never.
You were about to fall off the side.
Knowing that, because it was winter, it was a storm. It was just me and the skipper on the boat, and he couldn't hear me because of the engine. So I could yell and scream all I wanted, but there's no way. It'd take like a half hour until he says, "Where the hell is that guy?" Then he, would be able to find me. But I was going. I was dead. Because I knew as soon as I hit the water, I knew enough that, because with what I had on it, I'd sink like a stone. Cold water, all that. But God, in his wisdom, sent a wave on the other side of the boat that tipped the boat more my way, and I was able to grab the boat. But it's like God's hand tipped the boat just enough for me to grab on.
Wow.
I got on. And then I went down below just to sit on a bunk. And the skipper came, this old grumpy guy. So, what the hell you doing? Oh, my God. Because apparently I was white as that sheet of paper.
Yeah.
So he poured me a shot of whiskey, and I knocked it back. But that, I was almost gone then. I that happened a few times, different scenarios, on the roof of a building and stuff like that.
Motorcycles.
Motorcycle crash, yeah.
Tell us about the motorcycle crash.
Well, I drove a Harley here in Los Angeles, and I wasn't really a biker, just something to do. And I was asked by a fellow who became a good friend of mine, Butch Starnes, down in Florida. He was the president of the Nam Knights, Vietnam veterans on Harleys, basically. They were having a big fundraiser to raise money for diabetes research. And as you may or may not know, I was a big part of that nationwide. And so then he picked me up at the airport, and he says, "You want to, go out for a drink or something?" I said, "Yeah, oh, sure." I didn't know it, but he had owned like 6 strip clubs in his former life. So we had to go to each one. And anyway, it wasn't until
the 4th or 5th one that you caught on.
No, it wasn't until, when the sun was coming up, I was just getting to bed. And then he wakes me up a couple hours later. Says, "Okay, we're going to go pick up your bike." Because they had rented one identical to the one I drove here for me to lead off the procession. I said, "Yeah, okay, sure." I didn't want to say, "Oh, I want to sleep."
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, okay, yeah." And got on the bike, and my head is still spinning. I shouldn't have been on a bike at all. But we get on the highway, and he takes off. He had to be going 125, him and some other guy. And I'll catch up to him. And I came around and going to hit the gravel. Bumping. And I remember thinking of my kids. Well, my last thought was just a picture of both of my kids. I'll never see them again. Anyway, so now I'm laying down, and I got to make it to the side because there's traffic coming behind me, and I make it to the little grass area. And a woman who, I think someone told me later that she was a nurse, she'd come over and she looked down at me and, see if she could help. And she came and like this far from my face went, "Ah, ah."
Oh, wow. Encouraging.
That's not what you want.
And I remember saying to her, "Thanks for stopping by, ma'am. I'll take it from here." So anyway, my friend Butch, he had seen my bike up in the air in his rearview mirror. And so he circled back around, and then the ambulance showed up, and he said, and they're putting me on the stretcher. And one of them looks down to the other guy, "You know who this is?" And now they're talking about favorite Cheers episodes.
Right.
And I'm this close to bleeding to death, right? So Butch, God bless him, said, put him in the ambulance, get him out of here. And then Butch said, "Where are you taking him?" They said, "We're taking him to county." Now, county is where, they use old rusty can openers, and, you don't want to go to county anywhere in the world. Don't. And he says, "No, take him to Orlando Regional." And the guy said, "Don't tell me what to do. We're taking him to county. It's closer." And I wasn't in any shape to argue. So they shut the doors, and we're going down the highway, and the radio crackles. It's the chief of the fire department saying, "Where are you taking him?" They said, "County." And then the chief says, "Did Mr. Starnes tell you to take him to Orlando Regional?"
Oh, wow.
He says, "Yes, sir, he did." He says, "Well, you do whatever Mr. Starnes tells you." So we go across the verge again. And I was so lucky, again, the hand of God was there with me, that there was a symposium or a convention of the top ankle surgeons in the state or the country. And so I had top people working on because my foot was, if I hadn't been wearing a boots laced up, I would have lost my foot. So they patched it all together and, went down to the hardware store, got some metal and bolts and stuff. And so, yeah, I was in the hospital for a while.
Let me back up again. I'm jumping around. Who do you think had the most impact on you from growing up, your father, your parents, whoever, to make you be this John Ratzenberger, if you could?
Oh, I've never been asked that before. That's a big question. You know, I mean, later on in life, you learn, you know, it's not the falling down, it's the how you get back up. And I think in my time in Europe, because there was no, except for my buddy Ray and his girlfriend at the time, there was no backup. There was no, you're on your own. There's no going home and get your laundry done. You know, you're completely on your own. And that goes a long way in forming somebody. But
Ray from the Sal's Meat Market?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because he had already been over there working as a social worker. But also in growing up, again, it's after World War II, and a lot of these guys, my father included, came back with PTSD, but nobody knew because they didn't call it PTSD. They called it shell shock. And you were supposed to just get over it. Like, just shake it off.
Right.
Well, I remember stepping over friends' fathers
In the bars?
on the way to school in the morning. You know, I remember one was sprayed across the curb, and just as you got to the crosswalk, and kids are stepping over him, you know, to go to school. But most of the fathers in the neighborhood were, yeah, I mean, the bar was their clubhouse. And so you had you know, the way that forms your personality, you know, dealing with that. And it was a kind of town you kind of had to have eyes in the back of your head, you know. And you know the nuns. I remember seeing a nun knock a kid out, but she came up from her toes and an uppercut, and this kid went over a desk. But he deserved it. You know, he really did deserve it. I saw the whole thing. You know, so, you know, you grow up like, yeah, well, okay. You know. So he got knocked out. That's no big deal. But I don't know how to answer
Was
that.
your mother a big ingredient in all of that in your life?
Well, yeah, she was the cuddly one. But what she would do, she'd buy old radios or appliances at, what do they call them back then? White elephant sales or something. Cut off the electrical cord, given to me. And I'm 5 years old. Let's go with screwdrivers, pliers. Just take it apart.
This is your mom. That's incredible.
Wow.
And that was just, so to me, that was a toy. Then I graduated to erector sets. And I was always fascinated with that. But again, it was a background and stuff that I probably should have been an engineer, because I could do all that stuff. But I didn't know what an engineer was. I was always the guy who drove a train. But there's nobody in the whole school system who said, you know what? You should be an engineer. I wouldn't have known what the hell they were talking about. My guidance counselor in high school, though, I'll never forget that. I walk in her office, and she said, what do you want? Guidance counselor. I guess I must have been a senior, junior. I said, well, I just wondered, you know, after high school, what I should be doing. And there was pamphlets. And it was Tufts University and, you know, Princeton. I said, I'm not sure you know, whether I should be going to Tufts or be a doctor or Princeton. And I'm just busting her chops because I know I'm not going to Tufts. So she looked and said, get out of my office. She's screaming. And she's standing up and she had veins. Oh, get out of my office. Vice principal goes running in. What's the matter? anyway, that's what it was. But there was a new university opening up nearby, and they needed butts for seats. So I applied there and got in. I think as long as your socks matched, they let you in. I mean, it's a big deal university now. They actually did it right. It's a very well-known place, but I forget what year it was. Maybe my junior year, my one of my professors had to go do something family-related out of state. He said, "John, will you take over my class for a couple of weeks?" And because after all was said and done, once I dusted everything off, I had a brain. So he said, "Will you take over my class for a couple of weeks?" I said, "Sure." So I remember going out and getting a 3-piece suit and a briefcase. And now I was going to be a college professor. Right? Oh, this is after I graduated. That's right. So I think the suitcase had a bologna sandwich in it. That was like... And so I walk in the amphitheater. It was, I stood at the podium and I looked down and there's my high school guidance counselor.
Oh, wow.
Who told me, "Ratzenberger, get a job in some factory, find somebody to marry you if you can, and try to stay out of jail." That was my guidance.
Seriously.
That's my guidance.
Those are 3 good guideposts.
That was my high school. Okay. It wasn't like, you're going to be great out there. And,
yeah.
You're going to... But there she is now. And I'm her teacher in college. So I say, "Hey, Mrs. So-and-so, how you doing?" And she looked up, her eyes got wide. I think she started to sweat and maybe cry. But she never saw her again. She didn't come back to another class.
So when did you find out, like along the way, like high school or whatever, when did you find out you were funny? Like, were you ever like the class clown or?
Yeah, but I was surrounded by guys like that. Bobby Garamella, Gil Zawatsky. It's just, even in high school, before the teacher came in, makeup stuff, I said to one of the guys, "Go downstairs, 3rd floor, go down to the parking lot, get on top of the car and splay yourself like you jumped out of the window onto the car." So he did. Teacher comes in, and there's a bunch of us at the window going, "Oh my God, he jumped! Oh my God!" And she, what? And she looked down and she screamed, "Ah!" She runs down out, probably got the principal, and said, "Hey, come on." So he jumped off and came back up another stairway, and just stuff like that. It seemed harmless. Hey, might as well. Something to do, sort of, just stuff.
I love, you are a bundle, like we all are. But one thing that I love is because sometimes we're so different in many ways. I had an easier upbringing, I think in some way.
Well, your father's an archaeologist, right?
Right. Yeah. And all of that stuff. But what I'm driving at is whenever I see you and I haven't seen you for a while, there's that, I grab you, I hug you, and we both laugh and giggle over just all the fun we had on Cheers and all the memories. You've got that soft giggler inside of you.
Which I
love. You're a cream puff.
I will, even raising kids, I would look for ways to embarrass them in public. I would just
to make them laugh. No,
just to
make yourself laugh.
Well, no, just to this, they deserve this. Yeah. I'm picking up my daughter from high school, and the door to the high school's like that wall. Everyone's coming out of there. So I pull the car up right here. I'm no more than 25 feet. I get out of the car,
Oh, no. That's my father.
But her friends would go, they'd be hysterical, laughing. But I really enjoyed that.
I noticed with my grandkids, all my silly jokes that worked great when they're 5, 6.
Yeah.
So, phew, man, I can't get the 11-year-old to laugh at any of my stupid jokes anymore. It's
Male or female?
Female. I'll find another way. Don't worry. But
embarrassing them at school helps.
I'll try that.
Try it.
I embarrass my daughter all the time.
How old is
She's
she?
sitting right over there. She's 17. But,
Hey,
boy, yeah.
I'm one of your dad's old buddies from the old days when we were in the Army.
Yeah. But
Cheers.
she has done some serious eye rolling for me, like many a times. I've given her eyes immense amount of exercise.
That's
I don't know. I embarrass her, but not intentionally. You know?
Oh, always do it intentionally. I think they need it.
Mary follows behind me in life going, he was kidding. That was a joke. He was kidding. What he meant was, because you do love to kind of push the envelope and say the most slightly inappropriate thing you can find in a situation.
That's true. That's a good point.
I remember picking my daughter up. So she was in a high-end middle school where the kids are picked up, it's either by the chauffeurs picking them up or a maid or, a limousine it was high-end stuff. Well, I was putting in a basketball court at our house, and I decided to take the truck that I had, the what do you call it, Bobcat, little small bulldozer. So it's a big diesel flatbed. So I picked her up in that from school. She still remembers.
Oh, that's great.
So, Mercedes, Porsche, blah, blah, blah. Diesel truck. And she just looked at me.
Oh, Dad.
But she jumped up and, rode home in it. I think at the end of the day, they were they liked it.
Yeah.
And let me switch gears 1 second because I want to talk about Pixar. You've just had an astounding kind of run with Pixar. How do you feel about all that?
Well, it's just I showed up and did it and became good friends with them. So they asked me to do every one, and
you're like their good luck. You're talisman for them.
Not anymore. I don't work with Pixar anymore.
Oh, really?
I think because
once you made them big, they just
who needs a Lucky Charm? So it sounds. No, I think because there was a change of hierarchy, and I guess the new guys didn't want the Lucky Charm, but I still work with John Lasseter over at Skydance.
Yeah,
that's the company that makes Jack Reacher, Mission Impossible, and all that stuff. So they have an animation wing, and John's running that wing. So I work with him there. Just doing voices.
I cannot get arrested in any kind of voiceover work. I'll come in and audition. They go, that's great, man. You should be doing this a lot. Then I never hear from them. I kind of love it because it feels like I'm starting over in one area, but I cannot get arrested.
I find that strange.
Thank you.
He's got a great voice, doesn't
Great voice.
Yeah, well, yeah. Both of you. I'll put a word in.
Please.
Would you talk to John? Now, what about I remember when you were first doing the Sizzle Pack.
Oh, my
let's talk about that. That's great.
That thing, and then I saw it everywhere. I still see it everywhere.
Oh, it's all over the world.
Yeah.
Sizzle Pack. Describe it. It's instead of styrofoam and all that horrible stuff that doesn't go away.
Pieces of paper, like little. Well, you can describe it better.
No, it's the same paper that paper bag is made from, craft paper. You take a strip of it and then fold it back up on itself. You accordionize it and paper's the memory wants to get back to its original shape. You put a lot of them together, they interlock. So it's perfect medium for shipping fragile items. And I started that company up in Seattle, and then sold.
But that included like a factory. Making all this. So walk us through that.
Made the machines even.
You helped to design the machines?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mom.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really.
Okay.
But it was just, then I sold the company, and they sold the company, and they sold. So it's somebody is, I don't know who's in charge now, but it's worldwide now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get paid a cent anymore. So whatever work you guys can throw my way, I appreciate it.
Shit, we were
Does he
counting on
get a
the
minimum
crinkle
for this?
paper.
No, when the other thing you taught me that I'll never forget was one day you came in and you were saying that you'd been up north or something, or in Montana or somewhere, and you said, that those national parks have like a scenic strip that's maybe 100 yards, and the rest is just freaking clear cut. And that they were clear cutting our national forests. Remember?
Oregon, yeah.
Oregon. And I was like, nobody wanted to believe that. None of us wanted to believe that. But then I went up there and I was like, oh my freaking God.
Is that when you sat in a tree for a week or something? Didn't you do that once?
He climbed the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, well, that was for the redwoods, but I mean, you can't even imagine that the United States government is selling for like, I don't know, $8 a tree, these giant, beautiful, amazing fucking trees to the big companies. And, you can go into the guy's office, and I went into the office of the guy who was the head of the interior. Anyway, there's like a message from Reagan saying, congratulations on cutting so many board feet out of the forest, and I'm like,
Unbelievable.
It just everything.
And it didn't create that many jobs. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of that wood then got shipped to be milled overseas, right?
Right. The law was you can't ship a whole tree. It has to be milled. So what they would do to get around that law, they'd just cut this wide of a patch down the side of the tree. So now legally, you can ship it, and they would ship it to Japanese milling ships just out off the coast here. Just out, after the 12 mile, they would turn it into wooden boards and sell it back to us.
Yeah. So we were creating no jobs except for
No.
And one other thing I wanted to mention, you said that you got the place out near Palm Springs,
Rancho
Mirage. And why did you say you wanted to get that place?
Yeah, so when they come to visit, he's not answering. Well, look at him. What's that smell?
Oh, that's
Johnny. So somebody find the body. Otherwise, I'll be there for months.
Love that morbid humor.
Just stinking up the place. Yeah, no, it's important because I was just with my daughter and two granddaughters this weekend. They came out to the hotel I was staying at out in Westlake, and it's just,
it's the best.
Just watching them and listening to them, and them at night going out on the balcony pretending they were dogs, barking at the people in the swimming pool. That's great. It's what they should do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, my daughter, she was saying how much she enjoyed your Christmas cards.
Oh,
when you danced.
Yeah.
You remember this? We sent out the cards that he and Mary and the family were dressed as a dance troupe.
We didn't actually dance. We did dance poses.
Right.
That's what we were famous for.
Yeah.
And then the next year, you sent out the CD of the backstory.
Right. This is my wife, Mary. We actually had full-on wardrobe department and catering for that particular shoot.
Well, yeah. Nina said to thank you. You got a big kick out of that.
I am so appreciative of that compliment. Please tell her thank you. Now, tell the truth on this one. Do you ever watch Cheers episodes?
Not when we were making them.
No, now.
If I can find them, why do they do that? Why do they have our show on at 4 a.m? And you got King of Queens and Everybody Loves Raymond, Friends, bum, 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 all day long, one right after the other. But for us, it's 4:30 in the morning.
Is that why I ain't been seeing any residuals on this dealio?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. But really, that's because again, I just did 4,000 miles and hotels and stuff. There's no Cheers anywhere, but all those other ones, So I always wondered that why.
I think you can still find it, but it's getting harder.
But you shouldn't have to search that hard for it.
I agree.
But I was wondering why they did that. If there was a reason, you would know.
I think that's when that age group gets up to pee, and they're hoping the TV will be on, and they'll notice. Oh, hey,
probably.
Oh, look, there I am, Johnny. Much love.
Yeah,
much appreciation,
thanks, brother.
God bless you both.
Cannot tell you how many times you've made me laugh since being on the show. I mean, just watching old episodes, you are one funny man.
So
you really
fucking
were.
funny, man.